Welcome everybody back. Welcome back everybody to SJG Perspective. So I want to jump into episode number 4, part number 4. It's not really episodes, but I'm just reading this article because it's a long one and I'm breaking it out piece by piece. So I'm not doing a 40 minute read all in one setting. I'll have it in a playlist so you guys can just hit all on the playlist and listen to them all. But read the article. The link is in the description below. And let's get into this article and then go here. Wilton has observed how difficult it has become in the Occident even to raise issue publicly concerning the different vulnerabilities of different ethnic groups to certain diseases. He cites anecdotal evidence that, so far at least, all the deaths outside China have mostly taken the lives of ethnic Chinese people. From his observation, Walton concludes that the racial characteristics are a significant factor in determining vulnerability to COVID-19 inflicted disease. The fact that this subject is being so assiduously ignored by those engaged in the quest for political correctness leads Welton to comment. It only goes to show how pathological our taboo on race has become. Race denial is so strong that possible race differences in the incidence of disease cannot even be mentioned or even suggested. I mean, if you can even take that a step further, if you call it the Wuhan virus, you're racist. If you say, oh man, they caught it from those dirty bats they were eating, that's so racist. If you have anything to do with anything, like he said, singling out race in any way, shape, or form, then you are a terrible, evil, racist person. You can't say that. So that does make a lot of sense, in this, idea of or take on what's happening. Establishing new domains of hybrid warfare. It says the Wuhan coronavirus epidemic of 2020 is causing the once firm ground beneath many established institutions to shake uncontrollably. One of those institutions, the Chinese Communist government, is encountering its Chernobyl moment. There are many consequences and implications of the epidemic that are already extending beyond China to the whole world. The epidemic is having a significant implications for instance, the state of the Chinese and global economy, the future of transportation industry, the future of tourism, the conditions of international relations, the state of censorship, the interaction between academic and military research, as well as ongoing breakdown of trust in government. You can say that again. This list is far from complete. The remainder of this 6-part essay highlights the implications of the COVID-19 crisis for communicative interactions, especially in the public sphere. The issue to be addressed extend across social media and mainstream media. They touch on the public education and the different concepts of the public interest. The analysis of the breakdown in public health raises questions about law enforcement. It raises related questions about the governance of professional associations, academic institutions, as well as the public and private agencies with significant responsibilities in the arenas of certification and scientific publication. One of the primary areas of the professional contention arising from COVID-19 crisis involves the close connection between biological research aimed at finding preventions and cures for diseases and research aimed at creating biological weapons. Biological weapons can be designed with the goal of bringing about indiscriminate mass murder. They can also be used to bring about the targeted murder of specific human populations sharing common genetic attributes. Gradually, a portion of the public is becoming aware that a conflict of interest exists between the military and the public health applications of the microbiology field within the so-called life sciences. How many practitioners of the so-called life sciences are really devoting themselves to the death sciences? The public has reason to question, for instance, the procedures involved in the production of vaccines by an industry with one foot in the healthcare field and the other foot in the military research. Why should the public not fear that some practitioners in the field of microbiology might confuse their dual responsibilities in projects aimed at both saving and killing people? What is to be said of the development of vaccines, in some cases by the same people involved in genetically engineering the very diseases that vaccines are meant to protect against? Similarly, why should the public trust that we are being well served by systems of research primarily driven by the quest for lucrative patents to enrich their owners? Why shouldn't the public suspect that we are being used as guinea pigs in experiments on human beings that continue to be perpetuated in the course of applied medical research, regardless of the prohibitions that have been enacted? Did the Wuhan coronavirus epidemic begin as an experiment on human subjects that got out of control? That's a good question. There's a lot of, I think that would be more likely than it came from a bat in a seafood market. I'm not saying that that they were actually testing on themselves and it got out of control. That's more believable than the bat story. How many times can the public trust be betrayed before the habit ceases of giving possible professional offenders, including those in white lab coats, the benefit of the doubt? Where does the protection of the public interest and the common good fit into this complex and internally contradictory picture? Where is there genuine accountability to a public required to support with our tax dollars scientific research that can result in both good and bad outcomes? Why does the financial return on this public investment so often end up in corporate and private hands, whereas the liabilities and collateral damages accrued are expected to be absorbed by the public? The fact that ground zero of the novel coronavirus is Wuhan, home of China's newest and most sophisticated microbiology laboratory, naturally casts a shadow of doubt over narratives minimizing the role of human agency in creating the new strand of the coronavirus. Wuhan's important role as a major Chinese research center, much of its secret and covert, has to be taken into account. Moreover, Wuhan just happens also to be the medical headquarters of the People's Liberation Army. The possible bioweapon was originally labeled 2019 NCOV. And then the UN's World Health Organization changed the formal name to COVID-19. Is the World Health Organization a PR adjunct of Big Pharma? How tight is the relationship between the World Health Organization and the Chinese Communist Party? In an era of proliferating genetic engineering, how are governments and Big Pharma partners in an era of proliferating genetic engineering, how are governments and their Big Pharma partners dividing up the field of microbiology? How are they handling the divide between initiatives done in the name of public health and initiatives done to produce biological weapons for national governments, including those of the United States, China, and Israel? How are the partners handling the appointment of new wealth derived from securing patents? Okay. Gonna mark this one right here. Just highlight it. Okay. And then that will be all I'm going to do on this one. I'm going to bring it coming right back with another one. So stay tuned on D Live. I will be back here live in about 2 minutes. And please follow. If you're watching these, you can put them on in the playlist and just playlist right through them when I get them up on my channel. We'll see you in a second. Without fear or animus, it's SJG Perspective, and I'll be right back. Thanks. Bye. Welcome back, everybody, to part number 5 of Who or What Started the Wuhan Coronavirus Epidemic. I am streaming these live to D Live right now, and I am recording them to YouTube. So whenever you're watching this YouTube, it doesn't really matter. We're at part number 5. If you guys just are jumping in on part number 5, go back and watch part number 1, 2, 3. I'm breaking them into smaller sections so people can maybe, have time to listen to just a one section and come back and know where they left off, and they can just watch them as they go. So we are at part number 5. So I'm just going to dive right in, and here we go. These issues are finding expressions in the many legitimate questions that are coming to light in the course of the novel coronavirus emergency. Some of these questions arise because of a history of largely unexplained relations between the Wuhan National Biosafety Laboratory and the National Microbiology Laboratory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. It has been well reported that both institutions share the same top level 4 certification assigned to the containment facilities in research labs where staff can pursue high-level studies of the most dangerous pathogens known to humankind. Here's where this is really starting to dig in. We've laid some groundwork on the last episodes, but here's where we really dig in, and it starts to get pretty good. So, okay, it says these issues are finding expressions in many legitimate questions that are coming to light in the course of the novel coronavirus emergency. Some of these questions arise because of a history of largely unexplained relations between the Wuhan National Biolaboratory, we'll just call it the Wuhan Laboratory for short, the Wuhan Laboratory, and the National Microbiology Laboratory in Winnipeg. It has been well reported that both institutions share the same top-level certification assigned to containment facilities and research labs. I've already read all that, so I read it twice. So that was probably confusing to you. I'm starting again at the next paragraph. I wonder if I should just start over with the intro and everything. I probably will, because this is going to go up on YouTube also, and my live people don't really care. Okay, guys, I'm going to start this episode over, but stay there. I'm not closing it. I'm just starting over. Okay, so you're going to see my intro again, starting right now. All right, welcome back to episode number 5 of Who or What Started the Wuhan Coronavirus Epidemic. I'm just going to pick up where I left off. If you don't know, if you're coming in on episode 5, go back and watch 1 through 4. These issues are finding expression in many legitimate questions that are coming to light in the course of the novel coronavirus emergency. Some of these questions arise because of a history of largely unexplained relationships between the Wuhan National Biosafety Laboratory, and we'll just going forward call this the Wuhan Laboratory, and the National Microbiology Laboratory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, and we'll call that NML. It has been well reported that both institutions share the same top level 4 certification assigned to containment facilities in research labs where staff can pursue high-level studies of the most dangerous pathogens known to humankind. Built with French assistance between 2015 and 2017, the Wuhan facility at ground zero of the current epidemic is one of the premier pathogen research facilities in a country that is thought by some to be developing significant capacities for biological warfare. Similarly, the Federal Research Facility in Winnipeg may well have an attending or indirect role in military research to advance capacities for biological warfare in collaboration with Canada's 2 main allies, Israel and the United States. So, our biolab up in Canada, working closely with Israel and us, and this lab over in China is working closely with the Chinese government, and obviously, for biomedical warfare stuff going in there too. Okay. Immunologist and medical doctor XQ, we're going to call her XQ because I will hammer her name, Jinzhao Guao Qing. XQ is the principal professional link at the nexus of relations between the Wuhan and the Winnipeg facilities. Now, we're going to get into this, and I'll be redundant, but just for people who know, I believe this lady was arrested. This happened a month or 2 ago where she has, well, I don't want to ruin it. I'll just read it. This is good, so pay attention. Until recently, Dr. Q was the head of the vaccine development and antiviral therapy section of the Special Pathogens Program of the NML, the Winnipeg place. The NML in Winnipeg is administered by Canada's Federal Public Health Agency. There's a picture of her. Dr. Q received her medical degree in China in 1996. She moved from Beijing area of China to the United States while already being subsidized as a participant in China's Thousand Talents program. Go look that up. Go Google it. But the 1,000 Talent program is, I think it explains it here. She soon moved to Canada from the U.S., continuing her graduate work at the University of Manitoba. Dr. Q, or Kui, whatever, continued her professional life in Canada and China, apparently visiting the Wuhan Biosafety Laboratory of the Chinese Academy of Science at least 5 times, each for 2-week periods in 2017 and 2018. In each case, an undisclosed Chinese entity paid her travel expenses. After 2006, Dr. Q's research specialty became the study of a variety of Ebola wild strains. The most virulent, that word gives me trouble. Some words give me trouble. They make my brain hurt. Okay. Okay. And then I lost my spot. That's freaking amazing. The most virulent of these strains was an 80% death rate for those that contracted the virus. We all know Ebola was some dangerous crap. I would be a lot more freaked out if Ebola was spreading like it is, because 8 out of 10 people die. And you're going to bleed out anus. You're going to bleed out your eyes, your ears, you're everywhere. It's messed up. An outbreak of Ebola from 2013 to 2016 took the lives of more than 11,000 people in West Africa. Along with Dr. Gary Kobinger, Dr. Q was said to be instrumental in developing the ZMapp treatment for Ebola using a cocktail of antibodies. In 2018, the duo received an innovation award from the Governor General of Canada for developing treatments for those infected with the Ebola virus. In March of 2019, Dr. Q and her research team sent off to China via Air Canada a package of deadly virus strains said to include Ebola and Nipah organisms. The shipment is said to have triggered an unexplained negative response from officials in China. The flagged problem probably involved an alleged failure to follow proper procedures in the transfer of materials that can be used for manufacturing of bioweapons, as well as in the making of vaccines to prevent the spread of infections. The episode led to the decision of Canada's Public Health Agency to call in the Royal Canadian Mounted Police to investigate. This investigation, it's equivalent to the FBI in a lot of ways. This investigation was directed at Dr. Q and her husband, Cheng Keating, who was also an acknowledged expert in the field of virology. As a result of these developments, an episode occurred that was reported on July 14th by the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, CBC. In her CBC article, Karen Paul reports, a researcher with ties to China was recently escorted out of the NML lab in Winnipeg amid an RCMP investigation into what's being described as a possible policy breach. Dr. XQ, her husband Keding Cheng, and an unknown number of her students from China were removed from Canada's only Level 4 lab on July 5th. The CBC acted pretty much as a stenographer of official sources whose clear mission was to keep a lid on the potentially explosive story. The story would become even more explosive with the inception in December of 2019 of the coronavirus crisis in China. Rather than trying to go around the official platitudes by engaging in some independent sleuthing known as investigative journalism, CBC did what most mainstream venues do these days. CBC acted as a Xerox machine to relay the tepid pronouncements of a timid and ill-guided bureaucracy. Paul cited, for instance, an official in Canada's public health agency referring to the removal of Dr. Q, her husband, and her research team as an administrative matter that will be resolved expeditiously. Several officials, including a RCMP spokesman, indicated there is no threat to public safety at this time. Now you gotta be curious about that a little bit. That they would go through all of this with everything that's going on now. Now I know it wasn't going on then, right? But everything that's going on now with it. The fact that this hasn't gone back and more people really blowing up the story. I heard it come up a couple times with little scattered stories here and there. but nobody's talking about it in the mainstream. You got to ask why. Why is everyone playing hush, hush, hush with this when we don't know what's going on? When there's so many just wildfire stories going on all over the place. Why is somebody not paying some of this more attention? Okay, so tune back into part number 6, as this is going to get a lot deeper still, okay? And it's going to be, whoa, this is kind of crazy. So tune into that. I'm going to kill this episode. I'm going to come right back and do another one. So D-Live people, stick around. I'll be right back. And you on YouTube, please watch episode number 6 next. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.